So I would say our first topic is actually review the minutes, but I actually wanted to just introduce Mary as our new select board liaison. So if anybody doesn't know her, that's Mary.
Thank you.
The other person joining us is Mimi, who is the town's new economic vitality director. Did I get your title right, Mimi?
You gave me
Upgrade?
I'm a manager,
Even better.
economic vitality manager.
Who's also going to be joining us to sit in to learn a little bit more about Ag Day and I get to think a little bit more about just what the Ag Committee does. So we're super glad both of you could join us. So that's wonderful. Did everybody get a chance to review the minutes?
It looked good to me.
Anybody have any corrections or anything that looked out of place?
Well, I'm sure this makes sense, but what is Dominic
Oh, Steve.
Infura?
Oh, in Ferreira. That's the question. Is his name spelled correctly? Steve, you're on mute. It looked like you were trying to talk.
Who's still on mute? Steve, you're muted.
I think he's working on it.
Do some signing.
There we go. Steve. Oh, no.
There we go.
There we go.
All right. Mhm.
Steve, did you have corrections for the minutes?
No, I didn't. I didn't notice that spelling exactly. And I'm not sure what it should be, so,
Oh, you mean for Dominic?
yeah.
I would guess INFERRARA, right? Or it could be.
I think it's double R.
Use two
Yeah,
R's.
the first R is double R.
Yeah,
INFERRARA.
Right, right.
sounds right.
And say that one more time, Brian. INFERR.
ARA. It could be ERA, but it's probably ARA.
All right. I think we will correct that. Would anybody like to move to accept the minutes?
Okay.
I'll move to second it or whatever.
Steve moved.
Well-
Dave seconded.
I move okay. The acceptance is distributed.
Thank you. All right, so the minutes have been accepted. Great. All right, so we are moving on to news about Concord farms and farmers. Well, I think the big news is, what did the newsletter say about Melissa's baby?
A boy.
A
A boy
boy.
named
Oh,
a
wow.
boy named Miles.
Miles.
Is
Oh,
that right? I think so.
that sounds lovely. Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's great. Yay. Well,
It can't
congratulations.
get much bigger than that.
That's huge news. We have a new farmer. How is everybody else doing? Is this wacky weather? I don't know. That's hot.
Everything for us seems a little behind. I don't know. Is this affecting? I don't know. Maybe we made a mistake, but we kept looking for nice warm nights that haven't happened. We just got tomatoes out a few days ago, but probably everyone else had them out for a while.
And we put our second planting out yesterday.
Well,
Yeah, our second planting went in probably late last week, something like that. But yeah, the beginning part of the season seemed like it was ahead, and then all of a sudden it reversed. Nothing's growing right now. Like we actually started cutting basil, and then we stopped because we were going to just like wipe it out. It wasn't going to regrow. Because and I still have lots of stuff covered, and I wish I had more. I wish I had melons, and I mean I have some melons and watermelons covered, but some of them are not.
Yeah, we just started, well, we've been picking strawberries some for about a week, but they're slow coming, and one bed we had covered with remay, and we had some heavy remay and some of the lighter, and we had some damage through the lighter remay.
Hmm.
And the other bed we used irrigation on. And we started that at 3 in the morning, and we should have started at 11 the night before.
Mm.
Had some damage there, so.
Hmm.
We're gonna be off a little, but it's hard to tell just yet how much.
So. Well, I spoke too soon about the watering. That put way too much water on everything.
What?
And we had this stupid timer, and for some reason the timer didn't work, and we came out in the morning, and everything's covered with rust because our water's so rusty.
Oh,
It was a bit of a disaster, but the plants, I guess, are gonna survive, but I think it's better to hand water.
This was in the greenhouse, Dan. This was not.
Yeah, we put this, these little heads everywhere, and it's
Yeah.
just like
uh,
sprayed rust for 8 hours or something.
Oh no.
It's terrible.
Yeah, I think the automatic works pretty good if you have a greenhouse full of one crop, but
yeah.
when you
We
get a
had one
variety of
size of
stuff,
pot.
It might not be
Everything's
too
in this-
bad before everything, at the beginning, before. Yeah, well, anyway, live and learn.
So what do you guys, I keep reading about a very hot summer, hot and I honestly don't remember whether it's also supposed to be dry, but hot. Does that register, or do you just press on no matter what?
we'll tell you in a couple months.
Yeah, right.
I would say we definitely just press on as if, because there's nothing to be gained by putting too much credence in any forecast. You
Hmm.
just have to hedge your bets all the time.
Mm.
You could get something, you could get something else. There's no real reliable source on the long term. So
Does
That's-
anybody do you have string beans or peas yet?
we've got peas, we have snow peas we started picking, snap peas we'll pick tomorrow. We've got 2 plantings of beans. The first planting of beans didn't germinate that well. Second planting looks okay. And we have a third in, but I don't know if it's gonna come up because it got so cold. I mean, we had 2 92-degree days or whatever, and that was delightful. But I mean, some things are extremely happy, and then some things are just really not happy. And most of the things that are unhappy are more important to me than the things that are happy.
For example?
Melon, squash, cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, they're all unhappy. Basil.
Yeah.
Parsley is extremely happy. Chard, kale, our cabbage looks amazing. Those things are just like in heaven, but not growing very fast.
Potatoes are happy.
Oh, the potatoes look amazing. Sweet potatoes are not happy.
No.
I love this part of the meeting.
Yeah.
It is about farms and farmers.
Yeah.
And could I also just say that it was great to go to Marshall Farm for the tour?
I was going to mention that.
I wasn't able to get to it. How was it? What was it like?
Very nice tour.
It was in depth. Oh my goodness. We were there for a couple of hours, weren't we? And we saw the whole, we learned about greenhouses, talked about ventilation and the way the wind goes and where the fans need to be positioned. And then there was all about the chickens and
That's the birds. Don't forget the bees.
and the bees, and then the flowers and the virtues of growing flowers and harvesting them yourself instead of letting people pick their own.
Don't let people pick their own anything.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that was interesting that they used to have a fairly large picture on flowers and it's completely gone. They've moved into
Oh, really? Wow.
themselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it. Like they
I-
there's too much damage. Yeah.
I always cringe when I see what people pick. I'm like,
Yeah.
that thing's gonna fall apart like by the time you get home.
It was good.
Does Hutchins do picking?
Zinnias, that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's set up for them to destroy.
Hey, Joe. Hi.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I spaced out and didn't notice it was 7:15. I'm sorry.
Good to see you.
great. Joe, we're just talking about news about Concord farms and farmers.
Yes.
That's as far as we've gotten.
We're all still here. Actually, there's a new Concord farmer.
Yes, Melissa had her baby. That was the big
Make sure you heard that.
That's the big one. Well, would we like to move forward to the next topic? How we feel? Are we done with this discussion or would we like to move on?
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, we're talking about Ag Day next. So I have a few updates. I heard from Chris Carmody, officially the town will cover the police overtime and they officially will cover the light plant banner. So that is great. So those are all set. Those applications are in process. They just both need signatures off by the town. But we are good to go there. And aside from that, we're pretty good. I think the police department had wanted another meeting as we get a little bit closer just to talk about layout again, which I think is a good idea because last year they sort of unexpectedly put that police car right next to Shimoni and we had to like squish everybody in to make room for it because we weren't expecting it to be there. So I think it'll be good. It'll be good to have another discussion with them about what they want and what their expectations are in terms of what they expect to have on the day of. I know in the past they have really liked that, Steve, you had your big van, your big truck blocking that part of Main Street. I think if we end up redoing the layout a little bit so that the farmers are all more together in the center, we might have to figure out another solution to making the police happy about that. I don't know if Arena comes again, if he would be open to doing that because he has a similar size truck. But that might be a solution also. Does anybody have any questions about that kind of stuff?
I think Steve has done his bit there, so.
Oh, I think so too. I think we can move Steve. Mimi, you had a question.
Can I just ask a basic question
Yes.
about like how you lay it out and who's invited and that sort of thing?
So that's actually part of the thing that's been up for debate a little bit. So we have permission from the police to block off Main Street between that Walden Street? Yeah, Walden Street and basically right by the flagpole, like right in front of the flagpole. So the rotary traffic can continue around, but Main Street's blocked for that one block.
Okay.
And then we have in the past had a layout so that it was sort of like farmers distributed across the area and then nonprofits dispersed in that area as well and sort of all mixed up. I think we've gone through various phases of growing and shrinking this market depending on who's involved and sort of leaning different directions about how much other influence we have on this event, like how much is more food focused versus farm focused. And I think the takeaway from last year was that we really need to focus in on the farms and maybe moving the farms to the center a little bit would help it feel more farm focused and having the nonprofits on the more exterior portions. But working with the police, we also have to figure out a little bit in terms of blocking and having them feel like public safety is important too. So we just have to keep that in mind as we're planning a layout for this.
And about how many booths end up participating?
It varies. Last year I think we had 7 farmers, is that right? 7 or 8 farmers in town participate. We have some years have had more, some years we've had less. Depends a bit on how everyone's growing season does. I think some of the smaller farmers, if they have stuff, they want to come, but if they're not a great growing year, they don't want to come. And we've left the decision on when you have to tell us that you're coming until pretty late in the game, just to allow for that. So if you had a really good year, you could still show up. but it sort of depends a bit who comes. And then the way we've handled nonprofits is if there's space, then we'll fill it in with nonprofits. Part of the discussion this year has been, as Ag Day has sort of grown in popularity, there's been a lot more interest from nonprofits in having space at Ag Day. And essentially, how do we decide who gets priority space as we have the spaces, and who potentially might we have to turn down, which is a new problem that we haven't, I think, had until relatively recently. It's sort of been like, oh, great, you want to come? Sure. And now it's like, well, does this actually fit within what Ag Day should be?
Liza?
Yeah.
May I offer just a little bit of history?
You sure can, Emily.
Thank you. Ag Day really was one of the first things that the newly established Ag Committee did. And I think it's now maybe the 18th year, 17th year, 18th year. And the idea is that Concord, unlike all surrounding towns, doesn't have a local farmers market. That's one, because so many of them have farm stands and they want people to come to their farm stands. Another really key component of the market is to show off the number of Concord farms. And again, Concord stands out as having way more farms within the cities, within the town's limits than surrounding towns. I think Steve at one point said you have to go way far west to find a comparable amount of land in agriculture as we have here in Concord. So it's a little bit, it's kind of designed to show off our homegrown businesses, local businesses, farming businesses. And then the nonprofits, I mean, I think the land trust has been at the market forever, and it's from the beginning, and gaining ground early on, gaining ground as a nonprofit. And then various town committees. I think the select board has had a table there for maybe the last 5 years. But the pollinator committee, and then other related nonprofit, I mean, but also very local, like Community Chest. Concord based is a theme that I think has really endured over the life of Ag Day. So whether you're a Concord based nonprofit or a Concord based town committee or business, farm, matters to whether you're at Ag Day.
Hi, Mary. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Emily. Do you have a written policy, or do you kind of wing it every year? The reason I ask is this year, the town is not going to have picnic in the park. We usually have this July 4th picnic in the park. And no, I don't think we are.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm thinking that a lot of the people that go there might be looking to come to Ag Day because it's the next opportunity for them to be there. So, and I'm also thinking about what happened with the town when in the parades, some of the things we do with ceremonies and celebrations, and the controversy we had about who we let in and who we don't. So, you know, I don't want to sound alarming, but
No.
you might want to think about getting some guidelines because I hear what you said, Emily. The focus is on agriculture and what's special about Concord, and you might have more people wanting to participate. That you've got to think about that.
Yes.
That's been part of the conversation in the. I mean, last year it seemed to be there were some things that were pretty loosely connected to agriculture, and the idea was we wanted to kind of bring the focus back more to agriculture and to the farmers in Concord. So, you know, that's been something we've been discussing.
Yeah, and actually our next, one of the things that at our last meeting, Melissa and I were sort of charged with doing was coming up with a little more language around that. So that's something we could have on our nonprofit registration form, and also something we could even have on the website for it, so that it can be a little bit clearer about how space is allotted.
And who will decide? What's how will you decide?
So we can get into that actually right now. So previously, I think I have been charged with the person who's coordinating all the nonprofits doing their stuff. And last year we did it based on basically a first come first serve basis. But right at the end, we got into a little bit of a, I wouldn't say a sticky situation, but basically like we had a group that really, really wanted to participate. We did not have space for them, but also they really did not fit into anything sort of related. It was, like a national nonprofit center that, which is a wonderful cause. It was a national cancer organization, but just didn't fit into this. We
Yep.
didn't have space for them physically, and they were the last to apply. So it was easy to say sort of, I'm sorry, we don't have space, but it brought up the topic of how do we deal with this in the future? So I think we just need to have a more clear call for nonprofits to make it a little bit clearer.
Which I think you've done a good job of doing in this paragraph.
Thanks. This is taken, I believe, from Emily's old nonprofit form. I don't know who originally made this nonprofit form, but we took that language and then expanded upon that.
Yeah,
I mean, it's interesting. For example, I mentioned the land trust, and so just almost for sentiment's sake, the fact that they've been there from the beginning, but and they have agricultural fields.
We do.
Steve.
But what about the League of Women Voters? I mean, I'm a member of the League. We've really liked being at the market. I can see the case for, being part of the community. I think that's what people are coming to really like, especially after COVID. Oh my goodness, we get to be outside, beautiful weather, lovely food, some music, and all of these organizations.
Well, I think that sentiment was to continue with people that have been, or organizations that have been coming for a while. And this would be more like, focused on trying to figure out newer organizations that wanted to join. But
so
that was my understanding. I don't know if that's accurate.
That was what we were sort of charged with, figuring out how to word that all.
There's certainly a limited amount of space.
There is a limited amount of space, as we discovered.
And the focus certainly has been Concord agriculture from the beginning, and that is a feature of the market. And all of the products and produce sold to the market is grown in Concord. And we tried to have organizations that have some connection to agriculture in some way. I mean, the land trust has a number of parcels of land that are farmed by Concord farmers, and other organizations, I think, have ties to some extent. We're limited on space by what there is there. I don't think there's room to expand any from where we are. And so we do have to limit numbers at some point, it seems.
Well, just to I'm sorry, just to read from the piece, the application that lies the draft. The Ag Committee prioritizes nonprofits and focuses on agriculture, food, environmental, and small business topics, but allows other Concord-based nonprofits if space allows. So I think that's a pretty nice way of putting it.
The select board had a booth there last year. I remember it was my first year on the select board, and honestly, we didn't really, we didn't know why. We didn't know why we were there. Really, I mean, we wanted to be there, but we didn't know why we had a booth. Because when people came up, I mean, we're not farmers. I mean, we were kind of a little bit confused that we didn't even have a table. We didn't have a tent. We were just really untogether. It didn't look good. It wasn't a good look. And the rec commission was there as well. And I don't know. So what I'm saying is if you need space, I could bring up to the select board, do we need a booth? And I don't know about the rec department if they really need one either. That's just an idea.
I think the select board was not there from the beginning. And there was a year when I think the inspiration and the push was to encourage people to fill out green cards
Yes.
and participate in committees.
Was, you're right.
But I've certainly seen the awkwardness of
Yes.
the table and the tent and but
Yeah.
you know
Yeah. It,
the message somewhat muted.
yeah, and I don't know. I don't think we felt that the message is really consistent with the spirit of Ag Day, but I can bring that up if you need the space.
I think it, I mean, I think we could still, like, there's a way to still incorporate the select board. It doesn't need to be a full space. We could have a smaller table. Like, there's ways to shrink it so it makes it probably fit. I do think it's really nice to have the select board there, and that it's nice to have sort of like, it's a really good event to get green cards, to get people engaged. But it's a direct connection to agriculture, not necessarily. But I think, there are other groups there that don't have a direct connection, but are sort of like tangentially related,
Okay, that's your call. Yep.
Yeah. But I do think, if I know I'm skipping around a little bit on the agenda here, but could we review the registration forms? Because that does have the language that Melissa and I were talking about that we could potentially have also on our website. So it's sort of like officially out there as well as on the registration form. Would that be okay with folks? Okay.
Our committee does have a little connection with the select board, seeing they appoint us.
Yes, exactly. we
Yes, yes,
really exist.
we do.
Really. And really, we're supposed to be an advisory committee to the select board, so it is a connection. If you guys wanted to just look at the nonprofit registration I sent around, I think, again, this is originally based off, I believe, something Emily drafted, but I could be wrong. But Melissa and I just sort of like workshopped it a little beyond that. I'm gonna jump right into the first paragraph and just read it. Is that okay? I'm gonna do it. Thank you for your interest in participating in this unique annual event. The Ag Day Farmers Market features Concord Farms exclusively and their producer-only vegetables, fruit, flowers, eggs, honey, jam, and more. Nonprofits are considered for space not occupied by farms if they are Concord-based and have a meaningful connection with the town's farm and food businesses. The Ag Committee prioritizes nonprofits that focus on agriculture, food, environment, and small business topics, but allows other Concord-based nonprofits if space allows. And then it's sort of like, in order to request space, we can kind of go down here and we can change the dates. That doesn't have to stay the same. We also say at the bottom, which we can change, we hope to accommodate everyone, but space is limited. Groups who send in this form early, groups who have previously attended Ag Days, and groups that are in line with the Ag Committee's focus topics will be given preference.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think, Mary, may I ask Mary, does this language help, particularly on the concern about the ceremonies committee, the parade, does it just help define and bound?
I think for now it is. Yes.
Yeah.
I think for now it's good. Yes.
Thank you, Mary.
I mean, I guess the only thing I would wonder about is the small business topics. I'm not quite sure I understand what that means.
That was literally,
Yeah, I wondered about that too.
the reason Melissa and I put it in there was we are all small businesses. And there was some talk about that potentially the, what are they called? The group, the Chamber of Commerce,
Chamber of Commerce, yeah.
potentially might want a table in promotion of small businesses and support of small business.
I think there was one year also when one of the shops on Main Street came down. It was at the Nest or the whatever it is, it's upstairs above Main Street Cafe. And they came downstairs and they had a little table and an activity, painting rocks or something like that. So, not agriculture or food, but local, like right there local, and an activity. And that's also a nice thing to have at the market. I think they did quite well.
for a while, there's concern about some discontent among the businesses on Main Street. And so that may have been a way to bring them into the fold, mention small businesses like these ones right here. So that we're not alienating them or.
The only problem was everybody on the street decided they were gonna have a booth, come sell wares. That could
Yeah.
really
That would be a problem.
be a problem. I don't.
Well, and one of the reasons that we came to require farm trucks to set up in the street 3 feet off of the curb into the street was so that access to the street stores or the regular stores, the stores that are always there, wouldn't be, that there would be access.
Aren't they mostly banks and realtors? What are they going to set up? Just
But I think what Emily's pointed, the 3 feet space was a really good idea because it does not make it like they don't have a truck right up against the sidewalk now. There's a little more,
Right.
so it's easier
Right.
to walk around, and it's easy to walk then into the jewelry store or the grasshopper shop or whatever.
Right.
I have a feeling people are pretty focused on what we're doing, but
They are. I mean, the businesses downtown have said Ag Day is not a big business day for them. I would say at this point in our 18th year, most are pretty supportive, but that is probably not all of them. I'm speaking of the grasshopper. They love Ag Day. They know they don't have great sales on Ag Day. They don't care. They're so happy we're there. So, hi Lois. Yeah,
Lois, your mic.
there you go.
Yeah, I had a question. If the group that came last year, they got eliminated because they were at the end. If they came, they said, "Oh, we were last year. We need to get right on this year." And you sounded hesitant that wasn't quite the right thing. How would the guidelines that you're setting up, how would that move them, to the back 40 or whatever,
Yeah, I think the idea about the groups who send this form in early is certainly like we could take that out, but it is nice to get everybody to get their forms in early.
Right.
And I do think though, having those sort of weighted topics, like groups who send this form in early, groups who previously attended Ag Day, and groups that are in line with the Ag Committee's focus topics. So if they are a group that sent their form in early, but they haven't previously attended Ag Day and they aren't in the focused activity, that would push them down further down the line.
Okay. I mean, I just want to ask that question because I didn't want you, them to come in first and then you go like, oh, they're here already.
No, I agree.
Okay, you're pretty good. Okay, you're pretty comfortable with where you're at with. Okay, awesome.
But I do think I think that is a question as like, could somebody maybe make an argument that like, oh, how are you weighting those 3 different things is a question mark. So yes,
And with the small business topic, I mean, you could have a contractor could say, I have a small business in Concord. I'd like to have a booth. I mean, that's why it just, everything else is kind of pretty focused on agriculture.
Food and environment. We can take out small business. I'm okay with that.
Small business.
Small farm business.
You could say small farm business topic.
You
There
could
you
take
go.
it out.
You could take it out entirely.
Which is subsumed in agriculture. I mean, just take it out.
Assumed in agriculture. Let's just take it out. Who's in favor of taking it out?
Non-voting member.
Non-voting member. I was looking for a general.
We take it out.
We got farmers. All right, we'll take it out.
But otherwise, I think it's very nicely done.
So this would be on the registration form, and then on our Ag Day website, we probably would also put it somewhere on there, just so anybody who's like looking at, well, what's Ag Day about? It would include some of that language, and then also like a contact email, probably mine. That sound appropriate for everybody?
When Ag Day started, nobody dreamt that there'd be a controversy about how many people could get in or couldn't get
No.
in.
So really, was it hard to get
You're
people
just
to
hoping
show up?
somebody showed up.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Well, that's a result of the popularity.
Well, tradition in Concord.
It's become quite a tradition, I think, at this point.
It's kind of waxed and waned, but it's like we've kept plugging away at it, so people expect it now.
I do think post-COVID too, it's had quite a resurgence. It was really like a
True.
thing outdoors that was a big, and
Right.
I think that energy has continued. So
That
hopefully
stupid veggie racer thing.
it's really taken on a life of its own.
Who came up
And the
with
weather is always good, pretty much
Don't
always.
jinx us, Emily.
jinx us?
Although I remember a great ag day where it was just like overcast, so we didn't get sunburned, and it was lovely. So let's hope for that.
I just didn't wilt.
Yeah. So let's continue on with the agenda here. Is there the farm participant? That nothing really about this has changed. I think we just we are still going with producer only vegetable fruit flowers. The whole we're not asking, nobody can bring anything in. Everybody's comfortable with that. And yeah, does anybody have any comments or anything like that about the farmer registration?
No, I think it's fine.
Looks good.
And I have not asked Happy if she will gather them again, but she's not here, so we could assign it to her. I will politely ask her if she wants to do it again. If not, one of us can do it.
Sorry, I have a question. What about the library? I know they had sort of a limited thing last year. Or are they going to do the same?
They are hoping to do the same thing this year. I need to reconnect with them. But last year, just Mary and Mimi, they had a concert on the green, and it went really, really well. They got a lot of people at the concert. A lot of people were very happy, and people were walking back and forth between the two events. It felt like a really, to use the terrible word, it felt like synergistic, but it did. It seemed like two nice events that worked well together. They also had a booth at Ag Day where they were, they had a book donation, and they were also
Right.
like having like a little library, essentially like a mini library, and then they had a book donation for their book sale, and they were very happy with that. That was very successful for them too. So that felt really nice, and they're hoping to do the concert again. They worked with, so bad at names, what's the music school that has in town, right downtown,
Berkeley? Oh, in Concord? Or?
Concord Conservatory.
Concord Conservatory. Thank you. They worked with them to get the group that was playing, and that worked out really, really well. So they're hoping to do it again. The reason this even started, just Mary and Mimi for the backstory, is the year after COVID, 2021, they had moved their book sale, which is normally in the spring, to the fall, and so it ended up being on the same day, and it ended up being like a huge boost for sales for them at the book sale because the two events were going on at the same time. They ended up moving their book sale back to the usual date, but they decided we should do something at the same time. This is a really good way to engage people, and that's sort of like a little bit of history behind that. So they are planning on doing it again. I do need to touch base with them, but that was the plan as of 2 months ago.
On the theme of synergy, are there any like businesses, especially in Concord Center, that use local agricultural products that are highlighting? So whether it's, as simple as like Main Street's Cafe has got flowers from this farm and this other one is using herbs from this other farm, or cheese. Like, is there ways in which we can kind of cross promote?
Somebody else can probably speak to the history of this better than I can. I believe some years there was a lot of attempt to do some cross promotion, particularly with the restaurants. Emily maybe has.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, at one point, Ag Day was part of a food, farm, and garden fair, and that included farm tours and home vegetable garden tours, and as Liza says, an attempt to do that sort of, to encourage connections between farms and restaurants mostly, and I don't, if anything happened, and I really don't remember, I don't think that it's persisted. So maybe that's something to try to develop. I'm not aware of close connections between any of the businesses and the farms, but the farms would know better than I, for sure.
I think several of us do sell to some of the restaurants.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, enough, Steve, to make a big deal about it, to highlight it as a strong connection, an example of local businesses working together.
Well, maybe the restaurants seem to keep changing and the chefs keep changing. But Hutchins, you sell to some, I think, don't you?
Yeah. Some, not much though.
No.
Yeah. Well, and then you have Saltbox, which grows,
Right.
I mean, which prepares the food. The food that it prepares is almost entirely food that it grows.
I was surprised that Paparazzi had been one of our better customers. I never expected that when we started out.
Yeah, I was shocked. I don't know. Why'd they go out? I don't know.
A lease situation.
I think 80 Thoreau buys from Barrett's Mill, probably.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, we sell some there too.
I don't think we're selling to anybody currently in town right now, are we?
We sell some to Woods Hill, but
Oh yeah, Woods Hill, right. Yeah, we sell the Woods Hill.
Alita, but it's like,
Yeah.
can you bring some squash blossoms over before 6 this afternoon? It's like,
Oh, Charlie.
Still waiting on squash.
No, I mean, so to answer your question, Mimi, not really. I think that there has been some turnover, particularly when there's chef turnover too, that for some of those
Right.
places that are not like chef owned, like Saltbox, that sort of like it comes and goes. But we have, I believe in the past there was a little bit of concerted effort to try to make like, oh, are you going to do like an Ag Day special or like highlight your,
Right.
your
A
connection.
Concord ingredient or something.
Yeah,
like that.
or yeah, a concrete
Right.
something that was grown here.
Yeah.
But I did not in the past recent years. And then with COVID, I think there was definitely
It's harder.
a restart also after that. So that was really hard.
it
Yeah,
kinda
we've
tied
done a
in-
lot. We've done a lot with the Colonial Inn in years past, but with changes in ownership and chefs and things, one time they changed, they had a new buyer come in that had different ideas and things. So a lot of these things are in flux a lot of the time.
So maybe those new buyers don't realize the wealth of resources in Concord.
I often get the feeling it's like, who's got the best price on something?
Yeah.
Well, it's price and it's convenience because it
Yeah.
takes a lot of commitment and creativity for a chef to work with a local farm that has this limited repertoire at various seasons of the year, whereas their other supplier is giving them everything that they want all the time.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I'm always amazed at restaurants that serve asparagus. Just, I think Paparazzi's one. There's asparagus there all year round. They're not getting
Yeah.
it from you, Steve.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of them just like iceberg lettuce too, and
Right.
that doesn't do very well around here in the summer.
So I think there has been ups and downs with engaging of the restaurant community.
Yeah.
But maybe I don't think you're hearing people say, don't pursue that.
No.
No, no.
Yeah, well, it might be something that I can contribute in terms of going out to the restaurants and sort of encouraging them and sort of like maybe they could come to Ag Day and like tour, or maybe I could try to organize like a little farm stand tour or something like that, just kind of build some of the relationships if they've gotten broken. Or if there's some value added products that maybe, like the Colonial Inn, if they were partnering and like creating some product that they could sell to their, to the folks that are coming in that really highlight and resonate with the message that you're sharing.
Yeah.
Maybe I think you told me that you have an urban ag background yourself. I mean, so this might be familiar to you. this
Yeah, I
kind
used
of
to
thing.
run the Union Square Farmers Market, so I know Eliza for a long time. And then I had started up a Center for Urban Agriculture for a while, sort of on a lark, and come from a long line of beekeepers. So I've got sort of some expertise of how to connect farmers with local food systems.
That's wonderful.
Well, and I think when the connection works, it's really like special, like too, like I don't want to like talk too much about I could like wax and wane about this forever, but like there is like we have some chefs that come out from Somerville that like are from Union Square. That's where we met them, and we've had like a wonderful relationship with them, and like they come and they buy and they see what's there and they change their menu, and it's like so cool. But I do think that's when it's not a chef owner situation and the chef moves on and you lose that.
Right.
We had a really good connection with the chef from Trails End Cafe for a number of years in Concord, but that chef left and then a new one came in. The ties do get broken.
I would think the low hanging fruit is to try to get restaurants to just incorporate like one ingredient from local farms during that week, you know. and
Right.
Oh, that's a good idea.
You know, I mean, because there's a lot of different stuff at that time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's a really good time of year and it's like easy at that time of year to be like, oh, you want to, Steve's got
Right.
corn, like
You
it's
Yeah, corn and tomatoes.
corn
Yeah,
and tomatoes. It's a
Squash.
good time of year. Squash is coming on. Like
Right.
there's some easy stuff to use. So that would be very cool. What were we talking about? Before?
That might be some good advertisement for Ag Day too, if they're.
Mm.
This does bring me a little bit to the point on the agenda, the setting clearer rules on what nonprofits can sell. This is slightly related to this. We had already talked about and voted on earlier this year that nonprofits could only be selling if it was something they grew similar to a farm. I just feel that we probably need to have that actually in writing somewhere as on our website or also probably on the nonprofit registration form. And is that something we still feel strongly about if they're bringing a non-food product? For example, are they selling a tote bag that goes to their nonprofit versus the item in question earlier on was like they wanted to sell bulbs, but obviously they didn't grow those bulbs. They didn't cultivate them in Concord. They were going to be buying them in and selling them immediately. So
I almost think a tote bag is like the only thing. Like you don't want T-shirts and you don't want ball caps, but a tote bag, people, that's like a thing at farmers markets and shopping. And
Maybe I misunderstood this, but what was the deal with the electric bike? Were they trying to sell those electric bikes? What?
no, they were just showcasing that they exist.
Oh,
So the bulbs were like tulip bulbs
Yeah, it was the
to raise money for the nonprofit. Hmm.
So we said no because the rules for the farmers are they have to have cultivated that product themselves. So that would not be, you can't buy something in and then be selling it. So you couldn't say a nonprofit couldn't be buying sunflowers from the commercial flower market and then bringing it in and selling it because that's not something that's grown in Concord.
how about if they buy it from one of us?
yeah, buy it from one of us and sell it. And
I mean, I just feel perhaps we need to have a clearer wording about this is my question mark.
I mean, I think well, what do you think? A nonprofit that comes and is on the street has the opportunity to tell people about what they do and give them an envelope in which they can mail back their donation if they like.
right.
I think that, I mean, that's certainly simple. You're not preventing donations, but you're not having a transaction like the bulbs, which it just is, there's a dissonance with the product and the theme of the market. I think nonprofits are there to get the word out and not to raise funds.
That sounds like a good line, I think.
Yeah, you want to add that to your,
Add that. We're all in agreement on that one.
yeah.
A lot of nodded heads. All right. I will workshop the language around that and I'll bring it around next meeting. How's that sound?
That's good.
I don't have Melissa to workshop it with me. No. Brian, you're gonna have to check my spelling. All right.
You'll have a baby now.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Is there anything else about the Ag Day update we need to cover? I'm trying to think. Oh, there was, Steve had a good idea. I don't know how many of you guys were in touch with Discover Concord. Well, there's 3 of you. How many of you guys were in touch with Discover Concord about that? The ad they were putting together, it's called a co-op ad. So they'd asked farms in Concord and the neighboring towns if they wanted to, they were for like a cheaper amount of money, all the farm logos would be displayed together and it would be like a promoting local agriculture ad. And Steve had the idea that maybe this is something similar to this is something we might want to ask the Concord Bridge if this was a possibility in promotion of Ag Day.
Ooh,
Steve, did
nice.
I explain that right or did I get it wrong?
I think maybe more than just promotion of Ag Day, it could be a monthly or bi-monthly ad through the summer or what's available.
So how would this work?
Well, I think farmers could chip in and you probably could get some assistance from the Stone Soup bank account. I think they'd be willing to help out on that and advertise all the farms in town that wanted to be part of it.
Sounds like a good idea, actually.
Now that we have a newspaper again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this something we should vote on?
I mean, I certainly, we can look into it first and see
Yeah.
if Concord Bridge is open to this and what sort of the logistics are around it. And then we could come back and vote on it next time.
We could talk to Stone Soup too.
Yeah, we can start there, see if they would have some funds available for this.
And didn't Stone Soup do, Steve, that type of advertisement in the journal? So maybe there's a layout or a form that's been used that might be helpful, or maybe, well, actually, Liza, didn't you design a whole website? You could design it.
Sort of. I used a template. Let's not good. Don't give me that much credit. Yeah, I think after Discover Concord definitely had like a designer put it together a little bit, but it was definitely interesting. It certainly was an interesting model of what we might want to look at. Maybe if I know nothing about advertising in the bridge, so probably need to talk to them first about like what our costs and what that might look like. But I think especially as in the lead up to Ag Day and throughout the course of the growing season, it would be really nice to have some old-fashioned paper advertising.
Yeah, nice.
So we can start there by looking into how it might work and the costs and whether or not Stone Soup might cover something, and we could probably bring it to a vote next time. Everybody seem amenable to
Sounds
that?
good.
Good. Great. We ready to move on from Ag Day? We're plowing ahead, I think, is how we feel about Ag Day right now. Oh, one other thing, well, sort of Ag Day related. I was charged with doing this last time. I did talk to Donna in the communications office about our old logo. So Mary and Mimi, we had an old logo that we had made up for the Concord Ag Committee, and we were told that actually is not okay. You can't have your own logo. So committees, I guess, aren't usually supposed to have their own logos, but Donna, who is, I think she's been there about a year at the communications office, she said she was going to look into what the possible procedure might be for us to get one. She was going to look at the old logo and do a bunch of investigating about it to see what might be possible if we had to change it, but we could still have one, or if we could just go forward and use the one we have, if there was a proper channel we could use. that's my update on that. Donna's working on it. All right, quick update on video project is our next agenda item. And I'm happy to report that Tori from Minuteman Media was at Shimoni Farm doing their, I believe, their fava bean planting with them. And she's going back to take photos this week to fill in the gaps and should have a draft of a June video to go on YouTube. She's also going to come back when they harvest them and do a follow-up video, which I think will be great to see the both sides of that. So that's great. So the video project continues. Ricky at Marshall Farm said he was still interested in doing something about his chickens, so we can get somebody talking about animals too. He said probably July would be good for him, so we will work on coordinating that one. And that's the quick update on the video project.
Do you advertise these videos?
So we were putting them on social media, that was sort of our main advertisement. They also are linked all on the Ag Day page over there. I think we could probably do a better job advertising them. We were sort of waiting until we had more of them. Because at first we just had the 3 and we didn't have a lot of like summer looking ones. They were all sort of early season and like late season. Like Dan's at Walden Woods is like a really nice one because you really like see it's in the fall. You see the pumpkins. It looks cool. So I'm hoping once we have more of them, we can sort of do a bit of an advertising blitz on them that they exist because it's fun to see the farms at different stages throughout the year.
Yeah.
Joe, did you ever get a hold of, I'm sorry I never got back to you on the video. Did she put it up? But I think Tori is the one that you need to ask if she's not getting to it.
No, she put it up.
Okay, at one point Joe was wondering what the procedure was to get it up, but I guess it was, maybe got up later than earlier or...
Yeah, I think it just took a while. I think she got bogged down at work. I think she's very nice to do these videos, but I think they are lower on her priority list than some other things in town. Mainly like any big town event they have to cover. So she did get that one online though. It looks great, Dan.
Oh, I'm talking about our monthly ag meeting.
Yeah, they were just.
She puts that up.
She not necessarily her, but somebody in that office does.
Yeah, Joe had sent me an email asking how you access it, and I'm sorry, I just never got around to getting back to you on it. But
it went up, so it's okay. I think they were just delayed after town meeting. Other business. I have just a few other things. I did reach out to the museum about maybe doing some research or even help with maybe doing a 250th event with them. I have not heard back from Jennifer, but I can bump her again. The other thing is there is a new chair of the health department committee, health board of health. That's the word I'm looking for. There's a new chair there. So I think there's a possibility. I probably need to email him about our letter. I do think that Jill Block is still on the Board of Health, but so she knows about it and was the last person I had any communication with about that. But I think maybe we need to also talk to the new chair. And I can't remember his name, unfortunately. Mary, just to fill you in, we sent a letter to the health department about the bag fee law, the paper bag fee law that is eventually going to happen. I know it is very far out in the future, but we had some concerns about how that may impact farm businesses in 2 ways, because farm businesses are a little unique in that some farm businesses don't have a point of sale system. So making a receipt that has a particular line that says a bag item would be not able to be produced. And then additionally, because a bag is a taxable item, you technically need to collect sales tax on that. And there are farms who only sell fruits and vegetables, so they don't actually collect sales tax on anything.
Oh, okay.
So that would be something they would have to set up a sales tax account and then be like marking how many bags they sold, et cetera. So in my experience in Cambridge, the health department, who is usually put in charge of these things, either waived farmers markets from having to comply with those rules, or determined that they basically made an exception for like, oh, a handled bag is the one you have to have the fee for. If it doesn't have a handle, you don't have to collect the fee, as a way to work around that. The health department, I think, is pretty overloaded with what they have on their plate right now, and this is obviously far out in the future. But we did sort of want to keep this on their radar.
Okay.
So that's the backstory on that. Does anybody else have any other business?
A couple things.
Great.
These farm tours seem to have been very interesting, and I think we should continue them. I don't know whether we want to go each month now or skip the summer or not. And the other thing, I think some years we've had our farmers picnic, I think is be a nice thing to bring back after COVID.
I do. I think we have to be careful about the open meeting law about both those things. So
Well, that doesn't necessarily we say careful that we're having a meeting and we invite other people to come that want to do a tour. That the tour isn't a official meeting, but
right, we have to be careful to think about how we
not business.
yeah, we can't talk about any official business. It can't be like an official
Right.
but I think
It's
that
the same for both of them.
yeah. But I think those have been it's been really wonderful to see everybody's operations. And I think it would be really great to continue to do those. It is really hard in the summer, I know.
There's more to see then.
There is more to see that. Do you want to show us your farm, Steve? Are you volunteering?
I don't care.
And what about the picnic? Are you volunteering for that?
Are you going to host that again?
The place is here, if people want to use it. I don't know if we want to do both at the same time, maybe, as the audiences might be different.
When would be the best time to do a tour in the summer? Would early morning would be good from the perspective of temperature, but might also be the busiest work time.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it depends on when other farmers feel to get free. And I think usually early in the morning, they have the day's work planned ahead and going, and maybe later in the day, but that's whatever fits everybody else's plan.
That would make sense to me. I mean,
Sorry, Dan.
I don't know that the public wants to come very early in the morning.
True.
But I mean, Steve has experience with having people come pick corn first thing, right?
Yeah.
That's right. 6 in the morning.
6 o'clock.
And they all come, right? Like they show
Yeah.
up.
Oh, yeah, that's a popular one.
Yeah.
It's free.
Do they get to eat the corn right there?
So they
Smart.
take a bag home. I think this year we're going to start charging. We're getting a fair number of regular attendees.
That's usually how it goes, right? Oh, those people. Well, I think it'd be great to do another tour. I think from my perspective, evenings are easier because mornings are kind of chaotic. Brian, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, to do a meaningful tour, it has to last for a little while. You know, that's got to be, you have to set aside a couple hours, I would say. So,
4 o'clock.
yeah, I mean, 4 is great for us. That's basically when things start to quiet down for the day.
Mm.
But sometimes, you know, we could do it earlier, but it would intrude more.
Well, at 4, if
Who's-
it's a hot day, it might be getting cooler.
Hmm.
That's the other thing I'm just wondering about. I think they're fun. I think they're, and my impression is that the Ag Committee has opened it up to Friends of Ag. That it's not publicly advertised. It's not as if you're expecting. It wouldn't be like the farm tours that we held in connection with the Food, Farm and Garden Fair,
Right.
where you could have lots of people.
I mean,
No,
it's not-
generally, there'd be several people from a farm, and we have been inviting the pollinator committee.
Mm.
Seemed quite interesting.
but I think it's important to
People
point out.
showed up, I'm sorry.
No, I just think important to point out that it's the farmer, like it is Steve inviting us to a tour, not the Ag Committee's tour.
Right. Yes, that's important.
How many people showed up to the last one?
15,
No.
15?
15
Yeah.
or
15 or
20.
20, yeah.
Really?
Was it in the late afternoon and?
That was
in
at 4.
Garnet?
This does bring up, do we want to do tours around Ag Day again for the public? Brian's looking at me like absolutely not.
He hasn't said flat out no.
He hasn't said flat out, yes.
Like, look,
I can't say anything.
I'm just channeling Lise. I know Lise is saying
I'm
no.
waiting for public comment because I'm the public right now.
I don't know. I feel pretty overwhelmed with,
Yeah, we can decide this later. I'm just throwing it out there. People have been asking recently, particularly since we built the new greenhouse. They want to see the other side of the farm, and I keep saying maybe around Ag Day.
Well, I
But as
think
far as
doing a tour is great, but I just don't want to do like multiple tours throughout the season.
Just
You
do
know
one.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I think
as far as,
centered around Ag Day makes a lot of sense, except the greenhouse isn't very active at that point. It's full of onions.
Well, they'd like to see the young.
Right.
We hope it's full of onions.
Yeah, don't you-
but as far as the farmers picnic, I mean, that was nice last year when you did it, and then that was when we were having, for a brief time there, had ag meetings that were in person. I don't know if that's a choice we have or how that,
we can have an Ag meeting in person again.
so we could
It was
do
easier to do.
similar thing if Steve's willing of the picnic and then an ag.
I think now you have to have a picnic if you expect anybody to attend the meeting.
In person.
Right.
There must be food.
And entertainment, I hope.
Did you say shrimp?
No, I said entertainment.
I thought I said shrimp. Well, so what do you think, Steve? Are you offering a picnic? Do you want to do that again, or?
It's up to you folks. I'm happy to.
Well, I would
Do it.
propose that we do that. What would be good? The next ag meeting, the ag meeting after that, July, August,
Late July.
Okay.
and connected with the ag meeting or separate?
I think we probably want to separate it as much as possible. Just throwing that out there.
I think last time we had the picnic and then
We went on and had the
a
ag
meeting
meeting.
to order afterwards.
I think that's what we did 2 years ago.
2
Oh,
years.
I think
sometime,
last year we had it completely separate.
Yeah. We have any guidance from the select board?
Oh, what?
Whether to have a picnic.
Sure, I think you should.
Is a picnic a meeting or?
We're not allowed to talk about any business though. No
I
business.
mean, I'm a big proponent of picnics.
If
I
it
guess
goes
the
into a
question-
meeting,
It seems the question comes is how closely that should be connected to a meeting.
Well, I think you've got, you can just call a meeting, post a meeting, call a meeting, and then just don't take any serious votes, like Eliza said earlier, and then adjourn the meeting. I mean, it doesn't have to be, you can really get around it pretty easily just by checking the boxes. And you have to take minutes, but
Do we have to record it?
you have to
Put on
do
the
those.
whole picnic.
And it has to be videotaped as well. No, seriously. But there are some things
Joe
that
cringing.
you have to do. You have to post it, you have to have an agenda and take roll call and adjourn it. But as long as you're not doing any serious business, the minutes will be, very easy to do. So I don't see that as being a barrier to having.
The recording's not necessary?
No,
What?
recording's not
No, I
necessary.
guess-
No, recording is not necessary. I'm just.
So Steve, we could do what we did in 2021, where we had the picnic first and then we had the ag committee meeting right afterwards. So
Yeah. Yes.
that worked well. We could do that.
Sounds like a plan.
Great. Would we like to do it in July? Is that too soon?
No, it's fine. That's about a month away, isn't it?
Yeah, we're looking at the next, that'd probably be around the 13th or something. So I don't want to skip ahead here. We do have public comment before we schedule our next meeting on our agenda here.
I have been talking throughout, and of course I'm the public, and I think the Ag Committee is probably pretty unique among town committees in its degree of informality and congeniality and so I don't know. I mean, Mary just mentioned roll call, and I've noticed in several that roll call is more and more a feature in town committee meetings. Will it be required of the Ag Committee?
Roll call is usually, especially required in hybrid meetings. And so I think that's why we're seeing it more and more in hybrid meetings. Really technically you should have roll call, but this is not a regulatory committee or a legislative committee. It's really a committee that's doing a service to the town. So I guess
It's okay.
I'll be
to be
quiet.
informal.
I'll be quiet. Yeah, I think it's good. I think the camaraderie you have is more important than meeting, checking all the boxes as far as the open meeting law. That's my personal opinion. So I'm not going to turn you in. Is what I'm saying.
Well, we do always recorded who the attendees are. It's always written in the minutes.
Would it by official roll call that each person says their name or something, or?
Yes, you just say you're here, but actually your minutes are very good. I mean, I just read the minutes of your last meeting to prep for this one, and they're very good. So
Yeah, Joe does an excellent job.
Great job.
Yeah.
Saved my life.
That's good. It is a different kind of meeting, I think, because we do all know each other. That is a little.
Yeah.
Which, moving on though, we should do public comment. Is there public wanting to comment aside from Emily?
I'll say something. I don't know who your liaison was last year, but I'm glad to be here. Actually, I'm more glad that you're here because I think the farms in Concord really are special. It's one of the things that set us apart, as you've already mentioned earlier. I see my role as kind of, appointing people if you need it. If you want to rewrite your charge at any point to bring it up to date, I'd be happy to help you do that. Help you unstick things in town, if like with the Board of Health or with the communications. So that's how I see my role. But I think the person who's going to be really helpful is Mimi, who's with me tonight, as far as getting you linked with the other things that are happening in town. So that's.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mary. We're so happy you're here.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
And I just want to say hi.
Hi, Lois.
And thank you very much for inviting the Pollinator Health Advisory Committee for the farm tours. I think it's been an eye opener to see the bigger picture, not just look at, like a flower and a bee and a butterfly coming by. There's much more focus on the whole system in terms of pollinators. And I think that's going to be, the farm part is really good to see, that whole circle it's much better seeing it rather than just like reading about it in a book or something. And just to let you know, the library, follow the library, and it's not the pollinator committee, but it's a group of people who are interested in pollinators in town. We're going to do a scavenger hunt and some other things. Pollinator Week, which is June 19th to the 25th, and June is Pollinator Month. And so,
Awesome.
yeah, and I've got a whole mess of tags to write for the Harrington Road, the pollinated garden that we saw from a distance, or some people went over to on Harrington Avenue there. So I will be busy.
Wonderful, Lois. Thank you. That was great. Awesome.
Well, I would like to say thanks so much for inviting me. My poor husband has barely been seeing me with all the committee meetings I've been going to. So I feel like you guys are the most fun committee. Don't tell the other ones. And once I hear that there's picnics and farm tours, I definitely would like to kind of get to know you all individually and really kind of, because you are some of the small businesses that I want to support. I'm not sure how often I'll be able to like come to all your committee meetings, but don't see that as a reflection of like that I'm not interested. And I'm trying to kind of pick away on projects along the way. But as much as possible, I want to stay in touch. And I think the Ag Day project and kind of how to help support that and kind of help the ecosystem of businesses. I see that's one way I can help right away. So looking forward to working with all of you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Great.
Thanks.
Great you're here, and look forward to hearing from you more.
Yeah.
Hi, Happy.
Hi,
Hello.
Happy. We see you.
Gave you some jobs since you weren't here.
Oh, yeah. I think I have enough jobs.
Well, if you're willing, it was to accept to wrangle in farmers on their applications for Ag Day.
Well, it seems to me that they have the first opportunity to download the form and send it over. And then I would go and harass them with a large bamboo stick.
Happy you're great.
So we're meeting,
So would July 13th work for everybody else?
and then we're doing a Ag picnic before that, Steve?
No, Steve's having a picnic and is inviting us.
Yeah, we could do that.
Oh.
Either that or the tour. I don't know whether we could put both in or not, but we could do a picnic anyway and decide about the rest of it.
Sounds good. I look forward to the picnic. July 13th, great.
Okay. What time?
Picnic?
Yeah.
Time.
What time?
What, 5 o'clock?
Sounds great.
Not too early? That all right?
Sounds good to me.
Meeting will be at 9.
None of us can stay up that late. What are you talking about?
And we can invite Mimi and Mary.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Who would like to, let's see, we have to adjourn this here.
I suggest we adjourn.
Dan motions to adjourn the meeting.
Second?
Steve second. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening. I know it's a busy time, so thank you so much, and we'll see you all later.
Bye, everybody.
Okay.